Hey, good morning, y'all. It's Saturday, and welcome to Soulshine Sessions. Sometimes we have heroes in our life, and we think that they're bulletproof. We think sometimes that these people could do no wrong. They didn't make mistakes, and we hold them up on this high pedestal. And then you hear some of the rest of the story. Well, this morning, let me tell you a little story about a man named Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone has always been one of my heroes because of his ability to pursue expeditions. He was an adventurous person. But there are things that you probably didn't know about Daniel Boone. I have several real estate investor friends, and Debbie and I do some too. So when I see something interesting about real estate, it catches my eye, and generally I have to read it. So last night I read about the real estate investor Daniel Boone. I had no idea. I didn't even know that he had pursued it at all. So as I read, I found out that although Boone helped open up Kentucky to thousands of settlers, he ultimately was unsuccessful when it came to securing his own piece of the pie. During the 1780s and 1790s, he worked as a surveyor in Kentucky while also investing in real estate. However, his efforts as a land speculator failed to make him rich. Boone ended up getting swindled in some deals and ended up in other cases where he failed to register his land properly, and he got hit with lawsuits for selling property for which he didn't have valid title. He also got sued for producing faulty surveys. Isn't it amazing that a man could explore a land, but he couldn't really put it on paper? Boone even received death threats after his testimony in various court cases that resulted in people losing their land. Boone tried, but largely failed at other business ventures as well. He owned a store, he owned a tavern in what's now Maysville, Kentucky. He served as a supplier of ginseng root, but the market collapsed underneath him, leaving him in debt. He bought horses at one time with the intention of selling them, but before he could sell them, a number of the animals escaped. Now, by the late 1790s, Boone had soured on Kentucky, believe it or not, and he decided to leave. In 1799, Daniel Boone, then in his mid-60s, moved with his family from Kentucky, which had then, by 1792, become a state, and he moved to Missouri. It wasn't Missouri then, but it's Missouri now. Then it was under Spanish control and known as Upper Louisiana. The Spanish wanted to encourage settlement in the area and welcomed Boone with military honors and granted him 850 acres of land in the district just west of St. Louis. And they also waived the requirement that immigrants to this new land that is now called Missouri had to be Roman Catholic. They waived that. Made Boone a magistrate in the district, and he was responsible for settling disputes among settlers. In 1800, the Spanish gave up that Louisiana territory to France, and 3 years later the U.S. gained control of it when they made the Louisiana Purchase. So Boone then lost his land claims again because he hadn't followed the proper procedures to get permanent title to this land. The frontiersmen then petitioned Congress, and then the president at the time, James Madison, signed into a law in 1814 that gave Daniel Boone this 850 acres of land. However, he soon had to sell that property to pay off other Kentuckians who had heard about the news of his grant, and they traveled to Missouri to collect on their old debts. Another misconception is that Daniel Boone wore a coonskin cap. He didn't wear caps like that. He actually wore beaver. So, suffice it to say that my dreams and ideas about Daniel Boone had been not completely dashed, because he was successful in some things. Now, I've told this story this morning because sometimes we have very different ideas of a person's success based on what we see on maybe the internet or on TV. This story illustrates something that I've talked about over and over, and that we need somebody to help us sometimes with things that we're not experienced in so that we can be successful. And while Daniel Boone was a very experienced and knowledgeable explorer, he was not a very good businessman. And it appears that he didn't have a very good support group or a mentor or a coach. We need help. It's very difficult to get through this life and all the things that we're challenged with all by ourselves. We need a coach. We need a mentor. We need a good support group. We need friends that can help us. We need someone with a different perspective that has actually gone through what we're trying to do or experience. Tuesday, I'm going to talk about what to do when you feel stuck, because we've all felt stuck at some time or another. But next week, look out for another special announcement in the Soul Shine Big Life Revolution group concerning an upcoming webinar that I'll be hosting. And everyone's going to be invited, but there'll only be a limited number of people who can be there. But anyway, I hope y'all have a great weekend. I hope that I've encouraged you to if you need help, look for help. Don't just struggle. Don't just plod along, and don't continue the same actions that have led to failure. Find someone who's out there, who's done what you want to do, and get their help. Have a great weekend, and let your soul shine, my friends. I love you, and I'll see you Tuesday.